In my room, yeah. I Stephen Marley, Bless FM radio, play good tune.
Yes, Sard.
Sataya, Sataya,
Yes, Sard.
Rastataya. This is Joshaka from station to station to tell the generation and the nations. Rastafari. Education is the key. All youth strive for development. Rastafari. Love is the key. Then give them that. Give them that message from me.
Bless FM, alright. No cigarette smoking in my room, yeah. I Stephen Marley, Bless FM radio, play good tune.
The Holy Bible.
Yes, Sard. You ready? Sard. Sard. Alright, Mr. Man. How am I going to get to this, brother?
God saw the light that it was good. God
It's
divided.
really important that these issues are looked at, but not just in the context of Rastafari, but in the larger context, because so much, I believe, of the behavior that we internalize within Rastafari are tied to the social.
Of the waters, and let it
Yo,
segregate
Sard.
from the waters.
How am I going to, what's the matter with this, brother?
And divided the waters which were
Okay.
under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And
Why
it
is
was
God-
so.
Yeah, you ready?
God called the heaven
We're struggling to come on.
the evening and the morning were the second day.
Yo, you ready? How you doing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is yeah. So is Gregory there? I can't.
No, he's not there yet.
He's just spinning.
He's not there.
He's actually not there, you reckon? Let me call him.
No, let me see if I can find him as well.
Let me quickly call him.
Yep. It's not there yet.
Let me just call him to check if everything's all right.
Oh, well, I thought he was ready.
He should be always ready.
All right. So while you're calling him, can we talk a little bit about what? Can we talk a little bit about what we're talking about today? Because you're on now.
Yeah, he's there now. Gregory, is your system working? Skype, is it working? We're calling you. Okay, are you on Skype right now? Okay, Gregory answered the phone and just cut off just now.
All right then. Well, we got.
Call him again. Oh, you got him already on there, yeah?
Well, I got him on there, but he's not saying anything. So let's talk because you're on now, my friend. So what are you gonna do?
Okay. Okay. Greetings, listeners. This is Blessed Radio. It's just after 6 o'clock and it's the spiritual discussion program. This is Saad here in Bromley, southeast London. Lovely sunny weather, warm weather today. And I'm hoping, Gregory, are you there?
Yes.
Ah, welcome.
Quite
Welcome.
nice here in Brussels. Exactly the same as you have in London,
Okay,
but
very
very
good.
hot.
Hot, very good. Welcome to the show. So, dear listeners, this is Blessed Radio, as I said. The name of the show is Spiritual Discussion Program. And the aim is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrusheen. And we have a new topic every week. The topic for tonight is, it's a long one, your wishes, thinking, and volition can uplift or poison this world. And I've got a little short version of that as well. You could say your will can poison or uplift this world. Your Will Can Poison or Uplift This World. The long title is Your Wishes, Thinking and Volition Can Poison or Uplift This World. Your dear listeners, you're always welcome to join us with any question or comments. The number to contact us, our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. The UK number, just again, it's 079 39 641 958. As I said, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 7939 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the Light of Truth by Abdrusheen is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdrusheen. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives. The word of the Grail message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And one more quote I'd like to give you from the author of the Grail message, Abdrusheen. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you again, the topic for tonight is, I'm going to give the long title first, Your Wishes, Thinking and Volition Can Poison or Uplift This World. Or the shorter version is Your Will Can Poison or Uplift This World. And just to remind you, you can join us with any comments or questions. The number to contact us, our UK number, it's 079 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as usual, I like to look at the title and look in the dictionary and get the definition there and see how much it helps us to understand what we're going to be discussing tonight. So if we start with, I'm going to use the long title because that's got more words in there, and we can look at each word then. So the title is Your Wishes, Thinking, and Volition can poison or uplift this world. So I looked up the word wishes, or wish, and it says in the dictionary, feel or express a strong desire or hope for something, or want to do something. That's another sort of definition given there. So Gregory, looking at that word wish, and our title is Your Wish. Let's just leave out the other words for now. Your wish can poison or uplift this world. Can you really Gregory, just looking at the word alone, wish, which is, can you really, poison or uplift the world just with a wish? Because wish doesn't sound, just a desire, as it says in the dictionary here, is strong desire. How can a desire turn into something like let's say, a physical manifestation? So, first of all, is that really possible? The question I would ask first: can a desire turn into a physical manifestation?
The very word wish should be considered. For instance, just take a very simple example. You wish to have an airplane just like that. Can such come into manifestations just like that? Absolutely no. You wish when you are in bed doing nothing, that is where most of the wishes come from, or the period in which these wishes come. You wish that the plates you have in your house could be washed just like that. Will it ever come to manifestation? Absolutely not. A wish, or one may say sometimes this ephemeral desire, which is not carried out vigorously into a volition filled with activity, cannot come to maturity. Therefore, that wish at best may affect the personality, and in most cases, if it is strong enough, will first move the personality. Only in that manner will it gradually, in a step-by-step manner, come to fruition. So mere wishes do nothing unless they are stilled into firm and continuous action. Only in that process will those wishes attract forces in accordance with the attraction of homogeneity. Only in that scenario will such strong wishes filled with intuition, only then will you then have the scenario of resonance, similar strong wishes, not fleeting thoughts. Similar strong wishes will then gather and will now mold themselves or will be assisted by other wishes to now come to fruition and precipitate materially. Then, in looking at the process, one will say it now affects the world. Whether it then lifts the world, in such a way as to bring benefits or to bring sorrow is a different kettle of fish.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I think that's a good starting point to explore this topic. So you've already answered about the wish itself is not enough to result in either an uplifting or poisoning of the world, and also it has to be an action. It has to materialize as an action, and obviously, wish by itself cannot turn into an action. So let me go to the next part, or the second word here, thinking. When you think, again, that's just like an idea. Thinking is like having an idea, and it's not so dissimilar to wishing. So would you say, is it similar to wishing then? How if thinking can poison or uplift this world, is that also similar to how can thinking, first of all, does thinking bring anything about physically, manifest physically in the sense of uplifting or poisoning the world? Does it do anything like that? Just as if, let me ask like that.
Well, if you survey it very carefully, the word thinking itself, or the expression thinking, a process has already been initiated in which the earthly physical brain is into activity. The earthly physical brain coming into activity only means that it's looking at the expressions of what may lie in a wish. And therefore, that is already the second step of striving to make a wish, or the thinking, which is already a process, to come to fruition and therefore materializes subsequently. So it is in the chain of command, because in that process you now have structures are already being considered. A conception is already being put in place, a framework or a model, because in one's thinking, one is reflecting on what is possible and what is not possible, although unconsciously, in accordance with the laws of creation, through which everything came into existence.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Again, you've explained it. It's like a step. There's a process here. We started with wish or desire, and that is, you could say, coming from within us. And then the next step is thinking, which is happening in our earthly brain. So that's where that comes in. So like the second step, turning into action, on the way towards action. That is the second step. And now, the third word in our title, again, I'll repeat the title. It's your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. So the third word, or the third main word, I would say, is volition. So first, I would like to look in the dictionary what volition means. It says here, the faculty or power of using one's will. So, okay, I was trying to think, your will, using your will. That sounds more, Gregory, that sounds more real, that our will can turn into something that is like turn into an action, which will result in either poison or uplifting of this world. So, can I check with you, Gregory, what, we've used the word volition, which I say in the dictionary means using your will, or one's will. Yes. What is the okay? What is will? What is will? Let's go into that. I want to do a second question on it after that. But let me just ask about that. What is our volition? Let me ask it like that. What is our volition?
Well, in continuity with the initial discussion, volition is now the firm set of activities that is now put in place for the realization of a particular wish. For instance, if you take the idea of architecture, you have that initially it starts with a wish. It's like a token. But that token has not got any firm form. And then one moves to the stage of thinking. That means you're now reflecting, okay, what different parts do you need to bring together? And then you now come to the firm volition, which sometimes referred to as the will, in which you now have a firm structure in place. It is this firm structure, which is the will, that is like a plan of execution of certain things that needs to be done. This is how it's going to be done. This is how this is to be done. Sometimes if you also reflect on, for people who are preparing, who know that very soon they're going to depart this world, they write down their will. What does that mean? It means they give a set of instructions, firm instructions, hopefully not self-contradictory, how things should be settled when they now depart. That is their will. That is their firm volition. But initially, they would have reflected, or they would have thought over it very carefully, or as best as they could, in accordance with their maturity. But initially, one should not forget that there was some wish, which one may refer to as tokens, all right, which are fleeting. They've not congealed to a firm structure. But in the course of reflection, you now have something firm which can now be put down. Just like you have a constitution in which you have firm set of steps. This is how things should go. The same thing, one talks about the laws of creation. Which laws of creation are the manifestation of the will of the Almighty? These are firm processes. These are firm operational processes which affect all that exists.
Thank you for that, Gregory. We've now covered the three main words in our title there, sort of explaining the process of how this world can be poisoned or uplifted through our will, or we have said your wish, thinking and volition. So we've sort of set the foundation there. Now what I want to say, Gregory, every human being has this ability of wishing, thinking and volition. We all have it, but it doesn't always materialize. Whatever we wish or think or have a volition for, it doesn't always materialize. And I was wondering, is there something else that might be affecting the materialization or turning into action, the wish or thinking or volition? Is there something else that is getting in the way, stopping it from anything? So I know this might sound stupid, and our show is a spiritual discussion show, but maybe there's a material situation that we need to consider, because obviously these results and actions take place on the earth, physical manifestation on the earth, and maybe we can have a wish, obviously, we can have a thought, and we can have a volition. All of that is not material, and yet, of course, it can manifest. You can move your hand, you can, like you say, build a building or design a building. All that can be on paper in a sense, that is also an action, but then sometimes even that doesn't always get followed through into the, let's say, the final product of the building, let's say. So I'm wondering, is there something like a material issue also to be considered, for example, money or our circumstances as individual human beings, that or does it need a group of human beings to manifest certain things that one human being cannot manifest it? So are these also factors, Gregory, that need to be considered, or am I saying, am I talking nonsense?
One would say precisely that wishing is not sufficient, because these are, like we mentioned earlier, like tokens that needs to be brought into a firm structure, which firm structure can now hopefully materialize here on Earth, depending on the scenario. That means there are factors here on Earth that needs to be considered. And in trying to anchor one's firm wishes or firm thinking or firm volition, one must also consider the scenario or the environment. It is not possible to say, I have a strong wish to go into the desert where there's no water, and I will plant iroko trees in the desert and it will grow, and I'll keep thinking about it, and water will come and it will materialize. That will not happen. Therefore, the need is there to consider the environment. The environment in such a way that the occupants or those that make up the environment, seen or unseen. For there is, or there exists, many other things which man may not, due to his present circumstances, be able to see. And therefore, when planning for a journey, must add buffers to it. And that is why you have, in many cases, they say, what if? All right? The goal is there. It's unflinching. Then comes the flexibility, always looking around the environment and weighing things. It means one has to be pragmatic. You weigh things and see the way the environment is before you now finally plant that strong volition which has moved you. Otherwise, you will plant, sort of set up the roots of certain plants in an environment where it cannot grow. And then you say, oh, well, you find some excuses. So it is the flexibility, it is the simplicity of this will that guides it through. It is the purity of this will that gives it the strength through which it can now manifest physically. But the key thing here is that one must judge the environment and plan. Find out that which can be sown and that which cannot be sown, particularly in the earthly environment. So it's not enough to say, I have a very good will and I have thought about all this. And then you take all your drawings or all the things you put down, the structures, and you put it in an uneven ground. A very simple example is you have a very high volition that which is good, and you want to be able to share of your thoughts, of your will, of your volition with others. At the same time, one is assuming that all human beings here on earth have the same maturity. That is very wrong. The thing is that before long, you will then find that not everyone in that environment shares the same maturity. And therefore, the dream or the will which you have will not be realized the way you thought it should be. As you found in communistic system, whether people work or not, they must be given things, something of that nature. That is not a firm will. It means they haven't considered, the environment in which they wish to put that which seem ideal to them. So the key thing here is one must always observe the environment that one lives in and see how his willing can then fit in.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory. And I just want to say a little bit follow on from what you said there, that, let's say you're planting something in the desert and a plant which doesn't normally grow in the desert, but we can always have these greenhouses which you could say artificially create the environment necessary for growing this plant that is not normally in the desert. So you get that in desert countries. You get it everywhere, not necessarily desert countries. People grow that even in UK. They grow because they want to do mass production, you could call it, of a particular crop, and then they would do that, this way. You could provide the conditions, as you say, the environment to actually produce that crop. So yes, so thank you for that. Dear listeners, I want to remind you, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrusheen. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the Grail message or want some more information, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight, it is, we got the long title first, I will say that, your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. I'll just repeat it again. Your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. And the short version of that is your will can poison or uplift this world. And you're welcome to join us, listeners, with any questions or comments. The number to contact us is our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'll just switch it off when I'm...
Yes, it was just a bit of... Okay, there's a little background. I don't know where it is coming from, but we'll continue. It's just a minor sort of sound. It's gone now, thank goodness. So, Gregory, we've talked about wishes, thinking, and volition. We've explained what these terms are, and we even talked about the environment, that the earthly environment that we are working in. And then now the next part of the title, we've said is uplifting. I think I've got somebody sending a message. I will just check it. What it says. Okay, I cannot see what the message is at the moment. 1 second. Okay. You've got a question. I believe somebody's got a question. Okay, okay, he's going to type a question. So while I won't wait for that just now. So Gregory, yeah, we're talking about, poisoning and uplifting this world with, let's say, our wishes, our thinking and volition. And we're talking about this world. Maybe first I should talk about this world, Gregory. When we use the word this world, do we mean just the earthly world? Or do we mean more than the earthly world? What do we mean when we say the world?
Hello?
Hello, Gregory. I don't know. Did you hear the question?
No. Could you repeat it?
Yes. Okay. Okay. The question I want to ask you, in the title we've got for tonight's show, which is "Your wishes, thinking, and volition can uplift or poison this world." What do we mean by the word world? Is it just the earthly world, or is it something more than that, like the beyond? What do we refer to when we mean we can uplift or poison this world? So it's the world. I want to define the world.
In the first case, the word world means initially the environment. So the personal environment, one should now say that is one's personal world. And one should never forget that in the first case, one must refer to nature. Nature is not empty. Nature has its contents, or the constituents of nature. And when you now have the different categories of manifestations in nature, then you have different worlds in nature. One may now classify, say, generally the world of matter and the also gross material world or the ethereal world. These are worlds, and all these belong to nature. Therefore, if one is referring to this world, one could be referring to the gross material physical world, which can be perceived with the earthly senses, or the ethereal world, in which we have the earthly senses not being effective because a different tool, the human intuition, sufficed to explore that world. The same thing happens when one goes higher, other than the ethereal world, the so-called animistic world. These are all worlds. But the key thing, the starting point, should be the personal world of the human spirit who has incarnated on earth in order to experience. That is the beginning. In accordance with the laws of creation through which all has come into existence, only two things can resonate if they have similar attraction or similar vibrations. And that is where you talk about resonance. So if in one's wishes or in one's sensing, one permits itself to seek after those things which are dense, which are ignoble, which are destructive, which come sometimes as fleeting wishes, in accordance with the laws of creation, those who harbor such need to come together. And because these are fleeting, are dense. Because of the density, in accordance with the laws of gravitation, they sink to that level where they can now express themselves in full. We should not forget these wishes are most of the time fleeting impressions. And for one who strives to make them reality, those people or those persons most of the time then come together due to gravitation and due to the attraction of homogeneity to make this a reality. Then we now have a bigger world rather than a personal world.
Thank you, Gregory. I've got a question from a listener now. The question is, how can your will affect the world when God controls the world? God controls this world. So I'll repeat that question. How can your will affect the world when God controls this world? Gregory, did you hear that question?
That is a very pertinent question. One should not forget that each personality that is here in this world has a free will to decide how they themselves wish to wander through this world. Because they have that free will to decide, those people of similar decisions towards that which is noble will come together, and those of ignoble decisions which are dense will also accumulate together. That is a manifestation of the laws of creation, which has been put into creation through the Creator's will. It is the Creator's will that regulates all that exists in creation. So, true, the will of the Almighty rules all of creation. But man has free will to decide, or to put it very clearly, man has a free will to be or not to be.
Thank you for that, Gregory. So that really does help to understand the situation. Just one more aspect of that question, although I'm doing it on behalf of the listener, I would like a follow-on question. I would say you've talked about man or human beings having free will, and being able to do as they wish, as they desire, like you say, to be or not to be. That is I don't want to say the question, but that is how we act as human beings, and that is through the will of the Creator. The Creator has put that free will into us. However, as you know, with the free will, Gregory, we can do, let's say, in quote, something positive, or let's say uplifting, or something destructive. You know, that uplifting or destructive, it can be either way. And that uplifting is obviously a very beneficial thing, not something that we could all enjoy and be happy with. And then there's the destructive thing that we can also do, which obviously is not uplifting and more, let's say, brings us even disaster, potentially. We've used the word poison in our title for today. So now that doesn't sound right when you think about the Creator, who is supposed to be love and justice and perfect. This is how you normally look at God, that He's love, justice, and perfection. And how come then He, who created man, has allowed man to have that possibility of, yes, uplifting, yes, that's good, but what about this poisoning or destructiveness? He gave him that possibility as well as uplifting. So how come the Creator allowed that?
It is because man's view had always been very partial. Man's view is unable to see the whole picture, no matter how simple it is. In accordance with his will, there is that of reciprocal activity, that whatever a man has sown, in returns he has to reap. This is in accordance with the laws that his will has put into creation, and through which we as human spirits are subject. Or should one say, whatever a man has sown, he himself or herself will not reap it? Should man then go to the farm and plant corn, and then comes back and reap poisonous fruits? That will be injustice. That will be lack of perfection. What has been put into creation through the will of the Almighty is beneficial. Is beneficial to creation, is beneficial to nature. It is the misuse of the free will, sometimes through indolence, that has caused the problem. A very simple example, there is the questioner asking a question. Was that question not asked out of his or her free will? So one must consider things very carefully, even every expression that comes out of us.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory. I want to now look again on the process of how the will and our wishes, our thinking and volition work, how it works. And because, Gregory, as you, every time we talk about these matters, I know it's a spiritual discussion show, but there are things which are invisible. We can see the physical, you know, the gross matter is all very clear. We've got our five senses. We've got the eyes, you know, the ears and the nose. So with those things we can feel and touch, you know, test in that way. And then we have these other things, we are talking wishes, thinking and volition, or our will, which we cannot see. And yet, yes, we see, clearly you can see that in a way, when you have a wish, something does manifest, but you can't really, how can I say, be sure. I mean, what we have said, sometimes people think your wish comes true, and sometimes it doesn't come true, you know. You can, and I know you gave one idea there about indolence. We can be lazy and not put the effort to build something, or, you know, bring our wish come true, you could say, not put the hard, because they say didn't put the hard work into it to make it manifest, what we were wanting. But then sometimes I still think there can be something, let's say, other powers, people who are stronger than us, maybe with more money or more resources, or even they're bigger in number than you. And when you have your idea or volition, it doesn't manifest, because let's say somebody there is maybe against your idea, or just not, is putting, well, maybe not deliberately against, but they just, their idea is strong. I don't know if this is possible, but you know, other people's idea may be more strong, and that manifests, and not your idea. So can we really explore that? Are there other factors for us, for a manifestation of our will or our wish that affect it? Is it our own strength that can make it manifest, or is it, or somebody can? Yes. So my question is, if you have a wish that we would want to manifest, could it be that something? Is it our own strength that can make it manifest, or is it has other people can obstruct it?
When a wish or a slight thought occurs to the personality, it's like a token. Which token has to be tossed examined, turned inside out, upside down, before one goes ahead and makes it a firm volition which is likely to survive the turbulence. Money in many instances is of no use in this particular scenario. Consider very carefully. Someone who at a young age wishes to play football, he or she has no money, yet he reflects and is determined and subjects himself to all sorts. There are simple examples of this. Players who at the beginning, one may say, were wretched, couldn't afford to feed themselves, were not the best players in the field, were less than average, but they focused and they keep trying to kick the ball at particular or different places until they mastered, through their persistence, through their determination, to score goals from different aspects. No money was involved. It was that pushed them forward until they became known. That is one simple example. Another example is that of an opera singer who, having sense that he or she likes to sing, strives, was very determined, subjected himself or herself to all sorts of changes, mastered the arts of singing. No money was involved, and having mastered certain styles, was now able to present to the world. Now, consider on the other side, someone who has all the money. What then happens? There is no incentive. He or she will only have a fleeting thought on how to play football. On the other hand, one may say some of those people who stay at the sideline are the best footballers. They never kick the ball. They have it filled. Their wishes are filled with all sorts of things. So, one should not go into these scenarios and talk about it. Whoever has a firm volition and ensures that in due persistence, it comes to realization that is what is required to make sure that the initial wishes come to actualization. A firm, good volition, all right, unflinching. No one can beat that. As you have it in football, so also you have in music and in different areas of life.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I want to read something from the Grail message. I've got a few things I would like to read throughout the show to bring this discussion into sort of like another way of, well, basically bring reality into life, so that we can actually see, Gregory, I mean, you've given very good examples with all the questions I've asked you about, you know, how our wishes, our will actually works in this world, how it works. And this, what I want to read now, is about, let's say, the way humanity is. So this is from the lecture in the Grail message, In the Light of Truth, by Abdrusheen. The lecture is called Thought Forms. And I will read, it's sort of just on the first page, but halfway down. It says, It is just in his so-called leisure hours that you can best recognize the real inner man. When his daily work is done and he has lost the outer hold on life provided by his special field of knowledge, what then remains is the actual man. Watch him and listen dispassionately to his words. You will soon cease your observations because they will become intolerable. You will be filled with deep sadness when you realize that many people are not very much different to animals, not quite so dull and equipped with a high intellect, but on the whole the same. They go through life on earth as if with blinkers, never seeing more than one aspect, i.e., what is purely material. They attend to eating and drinking and aim to increase to a greater or lesser extent their hoard of earthly treasures, seeking for physical enjoyment and regarding all reflection on things they cannot see as a waste of time, which they consider would be better employed in rest and recreation. They cannot and will not understand that life on earth, with all its pleasures and joys, only gets its real meaning when one has become more or less familiar with the ethereal world and knows about the reciprocal actions connecting us with it. For then one no longer has the feeling of being at the mercy of chance. They repudiate this idea under the misapprehension that if an ethereal world really exists, it would only bring them discomfort or even dismay as soon as they concern themselves with it. I'm going to stop there. So, Gregory, I just wanted to bring a new aspect to what we've been discussing so far, that how man lives on this earth, which is mostly focused on material gain, enjoying physical things, eating, drinking, leisure activities, whatever it is, recreation that we call it. But however, it says in this lecture that this enjoyment only has real meaning once we become familiar with the ethereal world and knows about the reciprocal actions connecting us with it. So, and I just want to say, and also for then no one no longer has the feeling of being at the mercy of chance, because you hear a lot in the world, especially with this pandemic, somebody's at risk, or whatever you do, there's something you're taking risk. But here, it clearly says, when you know about this ethereal world and this law of reciprocal action, there is no such thing as mercy or being at the mercy of chance. So, Gregory, can you tell us what is this ethereal world? You mentioned it a little bit. Can you tell us what is this ethereal world?
In nature, there is the manifestation, that which we see with our physical senses, all the five senses. There are others that exist, which are non-gross material. A simple example before we come to that, in looking at the process of existence here on earth, we know that the plants or the elements came first, and then the plants before the animal, before man then took the body of the animal and refined it to its current stage. The question is, who were those people or those bodies that prepared the gross material physical world, they did not just appear from nowhere. It was a gradual process. That which existed before the plants, before the animals, those workers that made it possible were not seen physically, for their vibrations are finer. And therefore, one is referring to that particular environment or that particular scenario where there are beings, nature beings, that are responsible for the maintenance of the structures in nature. And those nature beings also have an impact on gross material manifestation. In the incarnation of the human spirit here on earth, when it takes over the physical body, that particular human soul had already existed. That environment that it was before it finally came into the gross material environment, that where we use our five senses, that immediate environment may be referred to as the ethereal environment. Although it could be, there are sub-categories in that particular scenario. So that is the ethereal environment. A best way of looking at it, of examining it, one will refer mainly to the work in the light of truth, the Grail message. There, more precise definitions, more precise structures, more precise operations of all this are laid bare.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory, explaining that. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprishin. And if you're interested in getting a copy of the Grail message or want some more information, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the discussion and the topic we're having tonight is, the title tonight is Your Wishes, Thinking, and Volition Can Poison or Uplift This World. I'll say that again, it's a long title today. Your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. Or the shorter way to say it, your will can poison or uplift this world. You can join in with any questions or comments. The number to contact us, our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, I want to read a bit further now, again from the lecture in the Grail Message called Thought Forms. It's very, that's how we chose the topic for tonight. And there's a lot of things that come out when we read further. So this is in a way to show the how our will and our thoughts and our volition and our wishes, I'm putting them all in different order now, can really work, for things to manifest. It's continuing from where I left off, actually. To them, it is a strange idea that life on earth only gets real value through striving upwards, and then a delightful, vital warmth also pulsates through all earthly joys and pleasures. These latter are not pushed aside. On the contrary, those who yearn for and earnestly seek for what is pure and high will seek what is pure and high, will, as a beautiful result of reciprocal action, attain an ardent love of life, often ending in jubilant enthusiasm for all that exists and is proffered. Fools are they who pass this by, cowards to whom the glorious joy of those who advance courageously will never be denied. Rejoice that all around you lives, far away to the regions that seem immeasurable. Nothing is dead, nothing is void as it would appear. Everything is working and weaving in reciprocal action, in the center of which you stand as men, continually forming and directing the threads, being both the starting point and the final goal. Mighty rulers are you. Each one of you is establishing his own kingdom in such a way that will either uplift you or bury you beneath its ruins. Awake. Use the power given to you in the full knowledge of this mighty happening, lest in your stupidity and obstinacy, or even in your indolence, you bring forth only harmful deformities, which choke all that is healthy and good, and finally cause you, as their author, to totter and fall. Gregory, maybe what I was reading may not be so clear for people, but I think the gist of what has been said is quite clear, that man or woman, you can say, has the power within him, let's say within his capacity and ability to either uplift or to ruin the world around him, which seems so incredible that little man, if I look at it, what we are in this world, yes, on the earth we seem to be rulers, but in the end, there's still things greater than us. There's nature, there's things, you can say the stars and so many other things, in quotes, they seem to be bigger than us. However, we seem to have quite a important and powerful role, in either uplifting or destroying the world we live in. And it's all through our wish, thinking, volition, or let's say our will, make it simple, keep it simple, through our will. And Gregory, what I want to ask you, it sounds incredible that this can be possible, that we can have this sort of, in quotes, power or will to do that. So my first question is, in my head I'm thinking, first, is it really possible for man to have this sort of ability, this incredible ability to affect the world?
The human spirit, or man on earth, has the innate ability to affect itself first. And because the human spirit, or man on earth, is an inhabitant in nature, Therefore, it felt in its activities it will affect itself either positively or negatively. And those who are like him, in accordance with the laws in nature, are drawn together because they resonate so that they can share and experience each other. So initially we have this scenario of a man in his own world. Subsequently, there is the accumulation of those of similar wishes, similar thoughts, or similar will. That accumulation is such that they resonate and they cannot experience. So from a very small individual world, due to accumulation, you have a bigger world. A world has constituents. In such a way, those of ignoble behavior, of terrible passions, they come together to experience themselves. That is how the entity which is referred to as hell come into existence. So they first start with their own world, and many gather, and therefore they build an environment for themselves and those around them that have similar tendency. That is a world. So due to the innate ability entrusted to the human personality, he or she is capable of building a paradise state or a hellish state within his abilities. So it is not surprising. In fact, it cannot be otherwise.
Thank you for that, Gregory. That really does explain it. And yeah, because as you could say you broke down the answer, so it became quite visible, clearly understandable how it can happen. Now, in a sense, you've already answered it in this question, but I want listeners asking this question, so I just want to put it to you now. How can we affect this world in a positive way? Did you hear me, Gregory?
Yeah. To affect the world in a positive way, one must reflect on every activity in accordance with the laws through which they all came into existence. But the most practical, as many would wish to have, is to have earnest, good volition, which volition has been demonstrated in the parable that Christ himself gave in the parable of the Good Samaritan. One may refer to another quality, is that of patience. Immense patience. Another one may refer to as perseverance. So there are the virtues which many may tend to clarify for themselves. Those virtues which they themselves sense is beneficial for every human personality, wish that which is good for himself or herself. And therefore, in their existence, in their operations, in their daily living, They themselves must consider that, like themselves, others are striving to understand through the challenges that they face on a daily basis. They're striving to understand the world or this world aright, striving to understand nature aright. And in that scenario, they themselves want to be given a buffer to mature, just like others. They themselves must have a good volition, just like others. They themselves must be patient, just like others. They themselves must think, consider that which is good in themselves and also in others. And they themselves must be ready to forgive and support their neighbor, just like others.
Thank you for that, Gregory. I've got a sort of a follow-on question from that. Some people are practicing, let's say, meditation. We were talking about how to affect the world in a positive way. And a lot of people do meditation for de-stressing, for keeping themselves calm, but also some use it to send their thoughts, you could say, to bring peace in the world, so to gather as a group, and have that way. So would you say that practice of meditation can also help to bring, you could say, peace? Or, well, in a sense, you could meditate in any way, but let's call it in a positive way. So does that meditation is also a practice that can work to bring positive results?
When these questions are asked, one must look at what is involved in meditation. All right? Many do not put themselves in that scenario physically to experience what it is like. In experiencing, then seeking to find a solution. Christ, the embodiment of divine love, didn't stay in the divine realm and sent good thoughts. He himself, incarnated physically, was born like any other person, experienced amongst men, went among men, and lived like a man among men. That is what nature demands. Not many who will stay far away, like those who do not play football, but are guests and they are spectators, only sending good thoughts to those who are kicking the ball. That is not what is expected. That man himself must be involved and in the process of experiencing, share through his activity, share the manifestations of good thoughts, showing very firm good volition. Be helpful where help is needed. Be patient with others as the Lord himself has been patient with him. So these thoughts of meditation or something like that is comparable to those who are the best footballers, who are spectators but are not in the field. Man must be in the field to experience. Only then will he or she know what challenges are there and then know how to advise in whatever scenario. For only through experience will you know it, and you can only give from that which you know or which you have. Or can you give from that which you do not have?
Yes, thank you for that, Gregory. I've got a text from a listener, and I've got a question. The text is a comment, and then I've got a question that I want to ask, which is relevant to this comment. So I'll just read out this comment from the listener. It says, most people's volition is lost in the world of matter, especially those who have too much power on earth. The world has sunk into darkness, so that those human spirits of an evil volition have incarnated, who would not otherwise have been able to do so. The good volition is often smothered by ethereal darkness. And I won't say any further on that, what has been said there, but I would like to ask you a question, Gregory. I'm sure we've seen this or in the news, this black man who was basically, his name's George Floyd, who was arrested in Minneapolis, and I think it's earlier this week, and he was basically killed by the policeman, or at least one of them, with his knee on his neck, for 9-10 minutes. I know there were other two policemen also with their feet on, their leg on top of the same man as well, holding him down. And it's not so much the outrage that has happened, Gregory, from that, which of course that is obvious that it has happened, for what it's a dastardly, criminal act, racist, whatever how you want to put it. But then the reaction afterwards, Gregory, is what I want to look at. And we saw there's been a lot of protests, and yes, some rioting, looting going on after that in some places. And then we have the President, Trump, who's in charge of the country, giving his own reaction, you can say, on Twitter, which is the way he likes to communicate. And he now he put one tweet he put out. I don't have the exact words right now, but it was something like, if you don't stop the looting, the shooting will start. And Twitter decided itself to hide this tweet, not remove it, but hide it, for it violated their rules of glorifying violence, because they said that's breaching their policy. So they hid this truth. And then Mr. Trump, in his own reaction to that, said this is against free speech and suppression of free speech, and how, anyway, I'm going to stop on going further on the actual, this matter so much, the details of the matter. But Gregory, obviously something very terrible has happened, as I said, the killing of this man, George Floyd, and then we've seen the reaction from it. And so, Gregory, first to look at this reaction, if people don't stop looting, the shooting will start. Is that really a way, let's say, to deal with this issue? Thinking about this, what we have just said, our wishes, our thinking and volition can either poison or uplift this world. So I'm thinking in accordance with our title of our topic, the topic we're discussing, this type of action, Gregory, of these words of, if the looting doesn't stop, the shooting will start. Is that is that going to help bring in a peace there?
The way one should look at things is not to go into the middle or the subsequent activities. There must be the initial, what initiated this set of activities. That is the key. For that is the beginning of the ongoing debacle. If that activity had not been carried out, will there have been such demonstrations or such looting in the environment of the so-called COVID-19? Was there such. Initially, when there was not a suppression or a punishment to a fellow human spirit who has come to experience here on earth, where you have those who are supposed to protect the individual and allow this individual to experience, those who are supposed to protect now carry out activities which are detrimental to society. So it's no use going into the middle as events unfold. As usual, one must go to what initiated all this. As long as man cannot make a decision which will be beneficial to all the inhabitants, then there will be problems. So answering that, what this person has done, is it right, or what this other person has, is it wrong, it's not a way of finding solutions to a challenge. You must go back to the basis. And once a solution is built up from the basis, then there will be harmony. So what one is saying in essence, let each one consider when they see such a scenario that initiated these further responses, whether he or she is able to accept that as right or wrong. But it is not surprising that humanity behaves this way, for there is a precedent. When at the initial, when the personification of divine love was sent to earth in order to show them how they should reason, how they should live with their neighbors. But out of jealousy, out of envy, here was someone who had committed no sin, but in order to stop him from spreading his beneficial activity, he was then framed, and guess what? Was nailed. Consider what it is to nail a human spirit in body and flesh on the cross. So now you can understand how low humanity has sunk. Now we have a similar manifestation of seizing the life of someone who has come to experience, not permitting him to breathe. One may only consider what lies thereafter. For in nature, every intuition, everything is well recorded. For each person must account for what they have done or what they have failed to do when the scenario presented itself. That is what many dread.
Thank you for that, Gregory, giving us, a more comprehensive picture to look at, so that, as you say, you deal with the source of the issue and not just like meet it in the middle of where let's say the crisis happens to be right now. So thank you for pointing that out. Now, I've got a question from a listener here. It's a bit of a general question, but I will ask it. It says, can man's actions, words and thought environments not impress all the spheres of creation and make it one world. There's a second question inside that question as well, but maybe we just address that first one. I'll read that again, Gregory. Can man's actions, words, and thought environments not impress in all spheres of creation and make it one world? So
actually,
yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, one has to look at what is being referred to there as actions and words and what again was mentioned there?
And thought environments.
And thoughts. The actions may be referred to as the actions in the gross material. And the thoughts could be thoughts arising from the frontal brain or intuitive thoughts which spring from the back brain. These are different scenarios. Only that which springs from the spirit will have effects on the spirit. That which springs from the ethereal will have effects on the ethereal. And that which springs from gross material will have effect on gross material. There is just one creation, but as the power sinks and things become denser, it seems there is a split. It seems that these laws of creation, they appear or they manifest somewhat differently, but it's the same laws, because we now have the universal. The laws of creation is universal. It doesn't change of itself because it is the truth. And truth is eternal, unchangeable. It doesn't change. It remains the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So that being the case, since it is universal, there is just one creation in which it manifests differently due to the species.
Thank you for that. I've got another question from this. Let me just see first. There was a second part of that question. I think you might have answered this question, Gregory, but I will. The second part of that question was, is there a difference between this world and beyond? Do they all not make up one world? So I'll read that one again. Is there a difference between this world and the beyond? Do they not all make up one world?
There is a difference between this world and the beyond. In this world, you use the physical body, the gross material physical body, and you use the tools available for the gross material physical body, and that is the frontal brain from which the intellect arose. In the beyond, you do not have this gross material physical body. In the beyond, you do not have the intellect. All that strikes you are a result of one's intuitions or intuitive thoughts. However, there is just one universe. However, we also have different worlds. And that's why we have the gross material world, the ethereal world, which is also of matter, The world of the animistic is also a world. There are constituents in this. And then the spiritual world. Above that is the divine realm. However, the best one can picture of this is to personally examine the work in the light of truth, the Grail message of Abushin.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And dear listeners, if you want to pick up the Grail message or get get some more information on the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And you're listening to Blessed Radio. It's the spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the Grail message in the light of truth by Abushin. And we have a topic, as usual, every week. So the topic for tonight is your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. I'll just say it again, it's a long title. Your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. And the short version of that is your will can poison or uplift this world. And listeners, you're welcome to join in with your comments or questions. The number to contact us, our UK number, it is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 00 44 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I have another question again from the listener, but I think we did answer it earlier in the show, but it's no harm so recapping. The question, Gregory, here is, how do thought forms contribute to physical actions in the gross material world? So I'll say the question again. How do thought forms contribute to physical actions in the gross material world?
The question is, how do thought forms contribute to actions in the gross material world? When thought forms are mentioned, one first must ask oneself, what are the contents of these thought forms? Thought forms may be classified into different categories. Intuitive thoughts, that which spring from the inner part of man, which we refer to as spirit, or that which springs from the brain, the frontal brain, the intellect. These are still very fine vibrations. However, in the attractions of similar thought forms, or one may refer to the accumulation of similar thought forms, one now have a process of densification when they come together. And in the process of densification, they now sink lower. And a personality who is at that level is able to pick up these thought forms, or they affect someone who has similar tendency, and such are then brought into reality materially here on earth. So you may have the scenario on which there exists much hatred, which hatred has been hidden from others, yet that hatred is there. And before long, someone who may be off guard is able to perceive this, and yet at the same time bring such hatred into material reality. Such is what happened in the case of the man in the US who was murdered by the police, which police are supposed to be the protectors of these same human spirit who have come to experience just like them here on earth.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory. And I want to continue from the great message in the lecture, thought forms, from what you've been saying. Just want to get the right point to start that. Yes, I think I can do this. So it's this is again from the lecture, Thought Forms, from the great message in the light of truth by Abrushin. The living creative power which flows through man collects ethereal substance through the volition of a completed thought and molds it into a form which gives expression to the will of this thought. Thus, the form is something real, something living, which now, in accordance with the law of attraction of homogeneous species, attracts what is homogeneous in this world of thought forms, or is attracted by them, depending on the strength it possesses. Just as a thought, when it arises simultaneously, perceived intuitively with greater or lesser intensity, so its ethereal form will bear an equivalent life. This world of thoughts is densely populated. Through mutual power of attraction, complete centers have been formed, which by means of their accumulated energy exercise a great influence upon human beings. In the first place, those persons will always be influenced, who tend towards a similar nature, that is, who bear something similar within themselves. Such persons will thereby be strengthened in their corresponding will and encouraged to continue producing new and similar forms which, working in the same manner, enter the world of thought forms. But also, other people who do not possess these special tendencies can be bothered by these influences and gradually be attracted to them, if these centers are continually reinforced and so obtain unsuspected power. Only those are protected who possess other tendencies in greater strength, making a connection with that which is dissimilar impossible. Unfortunately, however, it is hate, envy, jealousy, lustfulness, avarice, and all other evils, which through their greater numbers of adherents form the strongest power centers in the world of thought forms. Far less great are those of purity and love. This is the reason why evil is spreading with such uncanny rapidity. In addition, these power centers of thought forms in turn obtain a connection with analogous spheres of darkness. From there, they are specially roused to ever greater activity, so that as a consequence, they are able to create downright devastation among mankind. Therefore, blessed be the hour when the thoughts of pure love will once more take greater place among mankind, so that similarly strong centers will develop themselves in the world of thought forms, which can be reinforced from the luminous spheres, and thus not only strengthen those striving towards what is good, but also slowly work on darker minds, which gradually, with a gradually purifying effect. I'm just going to read that last paragraph again, just to bring this point. Therefore, blessed be the hour when the thoughts of pure love will once more take a greater place among mankind, so that similarly strong centers will develop themselves in the world of thought forms, which can be reinforced from the more luminous spheres, and thus not only strengthen those striving towards what is good, but also slowly work on darker minds with a gradually purifying effect. And Gregory, on that, I mean, there's so much that was said in this reading that I've just read, and you have already described or explained it already in your previous discussion just now. So I don't want to go over that part. We've talked, you've mentioned about hate, envy, jealousy, lustfulness, and so on, being the evil thought forms and, gathering in power centers and having a powerful effect. But then also, and that it said here, that is the majority and obviously has the greater impact. However, there's also the, even though there are less or fewer of such people of, who are sending out thoughts of purity and love. However, one thing I noticed, there's a couple of things I noticed, Gregory, that thought center of where purity and love is there, it draws also from luminous heights. It says that there. It mentions that. And yeah, let's put on that one. So Gregory, it looks like from what I've read there, you draw power also from above. It's not just we send our thoughts out, we have a thought or volition and it comes from us through our brain, and let's say goes into the world of thoughts where it manifests there or grows there, and then it comes back. But also it seems like, Gregory, we also receive from above. So how is that happening?
Very simply, to be able to draw of good volition from on high, or draw of the power from on high, one must be the seed for it. For the laws of creation through which everything came into existence are not violated in accordance with the laws of similar species. Good volition in accordance with these laws on earth is also a good volition in accordance with these laws from the heights. Because the intensity of good volition is so great there, and whenever there is a basis for it here on earth, it streams down to strengthen the good volitions here.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And there was another aspect that was in this last paragraph that I read out, which is said that this good volition of love and purity can also strengthen slowly work on darker minds with a gradually purifying effect. So it looks like, Gregory, you said there's the law of attraction of homogeneous species, meaning like attracts like. So good attracts good, or bad attracts bad. And in terms of thought forms, noble forms coming together and ignoble forms noble forms coming together with noble forms, and ignoble forms coming together with ignoble forms. But here, Gregory, it says something more here. It says that the good thought forms can slowly work on darker minds with a gradually purifying effect. So how can that happen, Gregory? It looks like the good thought forms are powerful, greater than the darker ones. Is that what it is? Is that how it is? How can it? Because it's not like obeying the law of like attracts like there.
In the abundance of good volition and in the strengthening of good volition, that which is of ignoble volition, the strength is minimized in a given environment. It's minimized in such a way that when you have the inhabitants of that environment, say about one particular person always showing good examples, others will now see that the good example this person is showing, by being very helpful not only to themselves but to others, before too long, others will want to emulate it because they have found it beneficial. In such a process, they now affect those of not so good volition. And in such a chain, others will affect others with not so very good volition. So in that chain, they tend to affect the whole, but doing it gradually, such that others will now be presented with the opportunity to refine themselves, for they have seen that the good volition of one person has been beneficial, not only to that person, but to all. A simple example is you have someone of a good volition who plays very good music. And in playing this music, the proceeds he earns from it, shares it with others. Shares with others of not very good volition. Before long, many will want to emulate that person. And in such a way, gradually but surely, will become better than they were initially. And in stretching that analogy, for those that were not very good, others, not as good as themselves, we start emulating by changing, for they themselves can now see, can now experience what it is. In such a way, there will be improvement gradually.
Thank you for that, Gregory. And again, I want to continue from this lecture, the thought forms, because it just really is quite something to appreciate, just highlighting what you've just been saying and sort of to continue from that. So this is again, listeners, reading from the lecture in the Grown Message called Thought Forms. Yet another activity is to be observed in the ethereal world. According to the wishes of their originator, thought forms are sent out to certain persons to whom they may then cling. If these thought forms are of a pure and noble nature, they will beautify the person for whom they are meant, strengthen the shield of purity around him, and if they meet with inner intuitive perceptions of similar nature, they can uplift him further and strengthen him for his ascent. Impure thoughts, however, cannot fail to soil the person for whom they are meant, just in the same way as a physical body is soiled if mud and dirt is thrown at it. If a man is so attacked, if a man so attacked is not inwardly anchored firmly to the centers of light streams, it may well happen that in time his intuitive perception may become confused under this barrage of impure thoughts. This is possible because these impure thought forms clinging to him are able to attract others of a like nature, which strengthen them so that by degrees they poison the thoughts of the person so encompassed. I think I'm not going to read further because that explains it a bit more. Gregory, that really is incredible. What I've just read there, that, one good part, the first part was where you can send a thought to another fellow human being, to pure and noble thought form, to strengthen them, to get for them to get strength and even ascend, what it says here. And then the other opposite one, where it gives in a very practical way of throwing dirt, and it's just like he says, sending out impure thought, which is just like throwing dirt and mud on a person in a physical way. It's the same thing, but here it says that it shows that somebody could send impure thoughts to another person, fellow human being, and it may well happen that the impure thoughts can cling to that person, the person the impure thoughts are being sent to, if the person has not, let's say, his own intuition is not clear, and it can be attacked basically. So and poison that person. So it's really quite clear, Gregory. The two sides you can see: the positive effect of uplifting a person, and the poison effect, which is of course very, let's say, immediately you feel is such a terrible consequence if that happens. It really is a terrible event. So I just did you want to say anything further on that, Gregory, at all?
Well, with the work in the light of truth, it speaks for itself. So one cannot add nor subtract, but to leave it the way it is, for it is self-consistent.
Thank you for that. And now there's a question, somebody's, in fact it's more like a comment, I will say. I will just say it's just like a piece of advice that I'd rather let you say it, Gregory, than the question come from the listener. So, Gregory, what is the advice of how we can, let's say, surround ourselves with good thought forms and sort of protect ourselves from the dangers of poisonous, consequences? What is the advice to that we should what you should follow to protect ourselves, to have good thoughts from around us rather than the dark ones?
Well, you started with the word wishes. The wishes which assail any personality could be uplifting wishes or oppressive wishes. The wishes which are uplifting allow you to experience and breathe freely. It means that these wishes will not hold you down. Therefore, you yourself must harbor wishes which will not hold you down, which wishes are in accordance with the laws of creation, that only in giving will there be receiving. Only in giving of that which is good, in service. In giving of that which is good in service, without expecting anything in return, to be of service to your neighbor. Hence the admonition, love thy neighbor as thyself, in such a way that you support your neighbor, such that he or she is granted the opportunity, the buffer to improve himself without tearing him down or tearing her down. Whoever harbors such pure thoughts already in reciprocity protects himself or herself.
Thank you so much for that, Gregory. I want to end with one final reading from the Grail Message, just the last paragraph from the Grail Message, sort of to end our show, which to me just very apt for what the topic is for tonight. So it says, this is from the lecture Thought Forms from In the Light of Truth, the Grail Message by Aprushin. The last paragraph, it says, be conscious of this immeasurable responsibility, for it all takes place only within the circle of your earthly limits. By the wise ordinance of the Creator, nothing goes beyond this, but falls back upon yourselves. Through your wishes, your thinking, and your volition, you're able to poison this world and the beyond, or you may purify and uplift it towards the light. Therefore, direct your destiny so that it may lead upwards through the purity of your thoughts. So thank you, listeners, for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. The topic was, as you know, your wishes, thinking, and volition can poison or uplift this world. I'm going to ask Gregory, anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
One would say to keep the hearts of your thoughts pure, and by so doing, you will bring peace and be happy and be connected to those in high places, or those in the beyond, or those in paradise, where the human spirit will arrive at if it follows that course.
Thank you very much for that, Gregory. That really is a brilliant way to end the show for tonight. So, dear listeners, thank you again for joining us tonight. We'll be back as usual next week on Tuesday with a new topic again. And I wish everybody a great week. God bless. Take care, everybody. All the best. So, dear listeners, that's the end of the show tonight. That's Saad signing off, and Gregory helped us with the shows on the show with answering questions. Hope to see you again next week. All the best, everybody.